everybody, and welcome back to another episode of From BA to Broadway. You know who it is. It's me. It's Mr. Brennan Stefanik, and I'm bringing you your general programming reminders. Folks, every Monday we are here with the main episode. Every Friday we are here with our miniseries In the Spotlight. And just a reminder, folks, on Sunday, February 9th at 10:45 a.m., we will be live at BroadwayCon. Yes, folks, that is right. We will be doing a live podcast recording at BroadwayCon 2025 with our special guest, Ms. Cara Rose DePietro. It is going to be an absolute blast, so please come through. We would love to meet you, and you can get tickets for that at BroadwayCon.com. But enough about us. That's not why you're here today, folks. Today we are here with a very special guest. You may know him from the Broadway. You may know him from the television screen. It is Mr. Jordan Dobson. Jordan, what is going on?
Hi, thanks for having me.
It is absolutely my pleasure. How you doing?
I'm really good.
I'm happy to hear it. Jordan, who the heck are you and what do you do?
Well, I'm an actor. I'm still figuring out who I am every day.
So true.
But by trade, I'm an actor, singer, dancer, musician, all of that,
I love that.
Whatever pays the bills.
So true. Second question is usually, how do we know each other? And I'm trying to think of how we know each other.
I actually know exactly how we know each other. Through Daniel.
Yes.
Our mutual friend Daniel, he told me to come to a bar that you're working at.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it was that day.
He was like, "Oh, my boy will hook us up at this bar." Maybe we were like in between shows or something like that. No, we wouldn't have been drinking in between shows, so...
Equity, one drink rule,
I can't do it, because the show that I was in at that time, I would have died.
Heard.
But, yeah, I think we...
Yeah.
Oh, we had the night off, and Anne Juliet didn't.
Okay.
So the Beautiful Noise people came, and Anne Juliet just, came to, hang out, too.
Yeah.
I think Michael Carrier was there.
It was you, Michael, Dan, and someone else from your cast.
I think
Tatiana?
Yeah, Tatiana
Okay, I was
Lawson.
going to say. I met her just that one time.
Yes.
Amazing.
Great group.
Wild. You know what? And that's making community in the city.
Exactly.
People showing up to your workplace.
It was so fun. It was really swamped, I remember.
Yes,
you were
it was a stressful day.
Ideal.
It was definitely a stressful day, but I was like, okay, friendship, lovely.
Exactly.
Yes. And then, Jordan, did you go to school for theater?
I did, yeah. I went to Temple University for theater.
Rock and roll.
With a concentration in musical theater.
Nice.
I didn't actually get a degree.
Okay.
So I know this is from BA to Broadway.
Oh,
I don't know
listen.
if I have a BA.
Okay, great.
But I did all 4 years. I walked at graduation. And then the head of my program came to my Broadway debut and was like, "You were incredible." It was West Side Story.
Oh my God, amazing.
I had taken over for Tony. And he was like, "You were incredible. And by the way, I don't think you ever got enough credits for graduation." And I was like, that's interesting.
How does that happen? And how was that the moment you found out? I feel like they would tell you that before you tried to walk at graduation.
Right. It slipped through the cracks somehow. It's basically because once you reach a certain level of dance at my school, Temple University, you can just retake those classes. So I kept retaking the hardest dance class, advanced jazz.
Okay.
And I was just like, oh yeah, dance is how I'm gonna make it, I guess. So let me keep redoing this. And it counted toward my major every time, but the credits never counted toward graduating the university itself.
Okay.
But I think they're gonna, or maybe they already have, help me out with giving me a credit per Broadway show I've been in.
Oh my God, okay.
And I think I needed 3 credits, and I have 4 shows under my belt, luckily. So I think I'm getting a degree through Broadway.
Is that something you want or care about?
I don't really care, but my parents do, and the amount of sacrifice that they have made for me to go to college.
Yeah.
I'm very glad that I will have a degree at some point to give.
Yeah. Where are you from?
I'm from South Jersey and Philly.
Okay, gotcha.
Both 10 minutes across the bridge. So yeah, I went to school in South Jersey as a kid, school in Philly.
Oh, okay.
And then elementary school through high school, South Jersey, and then college back to Philly.
Understood. Did you have a very artistic upbringing?
Kind of. I grew up in church, so there was always music around.
Yeah.
And, my dad is a drummer and my uncle is a keyboard player. And I started in music.
Gotcha.
So I play piano and all the woodwinds, and I was going to be a classical woodwind player.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like my first Broadway show, I just kept looking at the conductor and stalking the reed player.
Yeah.
It was wicked. And now I'm friends with his son.
Oh my God, that's
yeah,
wild.
The reed player. And I've worked with him as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it at the time. And during West Side Story, he was our reed player.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So wild.
Wow. Okay. So then when did the theater bug get to you?
Oh, I went to see a production of Parade at the Arden Theater in Philly my senior year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And it wrecked me.
Your senior year?
My senior year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was auditioning for like Berkeley for jazz.
So you were auditioning as a musician?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Understood.
As like a clarinet saxophonist.
Yes.
Just reed in general.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that production really wrecked me.
Gotcha.
And I was like, maybe I should do this. And there was one actor in the show, Catherine Bruner, who I love dearly to this day. She was a sophomore at Temple and she played Mary Fagan. And I was reading her bio and I was like, I'll audition for Temple University since she goes there. And if I get in, it's a sign that I should switch to acting.
So that was your first audition ever?
Yeah, that was my only audition.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I didn't audition for any other theater programs.
Rock and roll. Okay. Was it a BFA program at Temple or was it a BA program?
At that time, it was a BA.
Understood.
And then my class was like the guinea pig for the BFA program.
Gotcha.
But we were still earning a BA.
Heard.
And then the class right after us was the first opportunity to get a BFA.
Understood.
So we like ushered it in for them and was like, this works, this doesn't.
Yeah. So after you... I'm going to use graduated in air quotes. Was it straight to the city? Did you hop in the regional market? How did you even make that transition? Because like you said, you entered late into the game. So
really late into the game, but I trained my ass off at Temple, like to an unhealthy point. Like people were like, you need to breathe.
Understood.
You need to calm down and be a college student.
Yeah.
But I was like, I just found out what Broadway is. So like, I got to get my shit together. But my goal was to be a Philly actor.
Oh my God, okay.
I very much respect. And
yeah,
I was staying in Philly for a bit doing shows, but I couldn't get seen outside of dance roles.
Okay.
Like I was always getting seen to be in the ensemble of big dance shows.
Yeah.
And Philly doesn't do that much
of
like
really.
Big dance musicals.
Mm-hmm.
So then I moved out of frustration to New York because there was one specific show that I did not book in Philly and I was devastated, and they got a New York guy to do it.
Okay.
And I said, F this. Can I curse on you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. I said,
that's a lesson in itself because actors swear and everyone needs to get used to it.
No, it's so true.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck this. I'm moving. So like a month later, I moved to New York with like $1,000 and paid my like $800 rent, which was very reasonable still.
Oh my God, yeah.
And had like $200 and was like, here I am.
That's how it happened.
My dad was so scared when he dropped me off.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then just like I had my equity card already.
Oh, okay.
I had received my equity card in college.
Gotcha.
Because I had been working a bunch in college, like going to class in the morning, doing shows at theaters in Philly at night/day.
What a flex. Wow.
I guess so. But it was just like manic fear. I was like auditioning out of feeling like I needed to catch up.
Yeah.
To everyone else who had known so much about theater, could do triple pirouettes. And I was like, what the fuck is a pirouette, you know?
Gotcha.
So yeah, I moved here and just was auditioning for things that I wasn't right for. Like anything under the sun, EPAs. I was like, I will live off of this $200 and go to every single EPA and ECC possible.
Yeah.
Until someone notices me. And then luckily casting companies started like calling me in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Were you represented at that point in time when you moved to the city?
No.
Okay.
No. So I was just like
showing up.
I was like at Telsey's office every day.
Oh my God.
I was like, it's me again, you know, like just showing up as much as possible for them to be like, who is this kid that won't stop?
Heard.
And yeah, after a while they started to get to know me.
Yeah.
And then I booked one show that was like hopefully a pre-Broadway and got an agent through that.
Oh, okay. Amazing.
And the show never went to Broadway, but that's how I got my first agent.
Yeah. Was there like a heavy emphasis on the business side of things at Temple? Like, did you feel as though like once you got to the city, you kind of knew steps to take in order to start like getting seen at auditions or doing all of this kind of stuff when you hit the ground running?
To an extent, mainly because I was doing that also while I was at Temple. Like I was taking the Bolt bus at like 3 a.m. standing in the non-act line, you know?
Yeah.
So I would kind of come back and tell everyone, because Temple, they prepared us for so much.
Yeah.
But there's so much that it's impossible for a college to prepare you for.
100%.
And there were a few professors that still had their hand on the pulse in New York.
Yep.
But Temple is, at the time, very Philly-based.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's really grown. The program has grown, and it's really cool what they've done.
Yeah.
But in my day, I felt like...
Back in your day.
Yeah, back in my day.
My God.
I felt like I was the one, like, reporting back to everyone. I was like, okay, so I went to this call. I didn't get seen, but maybe if I go this time, then I'll get seen, you know, like... So we were like all like conniving together as undergrads to like figure out how to do this.
Yeah. Were you doing shows like in school as well?
Yes.
So you were doing shows in school, you were doing shows outside of school, and you were also hiking back and forth to New York City?
Yes. I was insane.
You're a crazy person.
And they were like, you are unfocused. You need, and also like failing classes.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Great.
Like not doing well. But there were certain professors that had my back.
Yeah.
Like, there was a professor that was like, Jordan, I know you're not here for your GPA.
Mm-hmm.
You're here to train. And I see that tenacity.
Yeah.
Please turn this paper in because I have to fail you if you don't.
Yeah.
And so they were just like really, really look out for me.
Yeah.
Because they saw that there was something. Like I wasn't just sitting on my ass.
For
you know? So I really, really appreciated that.
Okay. Did you have to do gen eds and stuff too while you were there?
I did. And I faked my way through
I was going to say, I'm sure you loved that.
Oh my God. The number of times my air quotes parents got divorced and I couldn't. And my parents are divorced, mind you. But
just over and over again.
Constantly divorced. I was like, I can't write this paper. Sorry, I'm going through a lot. My parents just divorced.
That's savvy. Oh my God.
And I would like talk to my dad about it. He was like, yeah, use us as much as you can.
That's
just
wild.
make it through college. Because I tried to drop out like 2 times.
Heard.
I really like the school environment was not for me.
Yeah.
But I needed to train and I didn't know any other way.
Were you an academic before college?
Yes. Yes. In high school, I was like top 20. I was in student government, honor society, president of the like French club, like so involved.
Yeah.
But high school was just fun.
Yeah.
Whereas like college, I got to a point where I was like, the education system of it all really pissed me off so much. And I was like pretty rebellious about that because I was just really passionate about it and even more passionate about training.
Totally.
Because I didn't have any.
Totally.
So,
and like, I don't know. I can't tell you a single thing that I learned in a gen ed in college. I genuinely can't. It was terrible. What was your worst gen ed?
Oh,
what was the most unbearable?
It was called The Environment.
And it was environment.
Yes. And
okay, you heard it here, folks. Jordan hates the environment.
Oh no, that's so...
He loves single-use plastic.
This is like a Z-Way moment. You
literally.
Got me. No, it was like a science gen ed, of course.
Gotcha.
And it was about rocks. It was just about rocks and the different types of rocks. And I was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
But I had a gen ed that I'll never forget. A few actually that I really loved. Descent in America.
Okay, great.
Which is so important.
Yeah.
And then there was one called The Meaning of Madness, where we studied different psychiatric conditions.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I found that to be extremely fascinating.
Totally.
Loved it and really showed up to that class every day. Whereas the environment, I showed up maybe a few times right before finals and midterm.
Yeah. I think I had a similar journey in terms of academics where like I kind of learned that like I kind of like coasted through high school by like cheating kind of, you know. I'm like I was always considered a smart person, like I was in the top 20, but like I don't know, I was always kind of like so busy doing everything else that I never was really prioritizing the academics of it all. And then I got to college because they're always like, you need to really whip it into shape because in college this isn't going to fly.
Right.
And then you get to college and you're in a lecture hall and you're like, they're not taking attendance. No one would know if I was here. No.
Where did you go to school?
I went to UMass Amherst. Giant school.
Yeah.
You know, I entered undeclared because parents didn't want to pay for theater school at first.
Oh,
you know?
That's so real.
I mean, it'd be like that. And like I started acting my junior year of high school. So I was still also like pretty late to the game.
Yeah.
And wasn't that great. So like there was a lot of doubt surrounding the viability of the career. And like we also come from like small town suburbia. So, you know, there's not like a whole lot of like artistic success happening around you to be like, oh, yes, this is possible. So it was very understandable. But then like, after that first semester, I was like, well, you know what? I failed my first class in life ever, which was chemistry.
Oh,
that was going to be my pivot too. I was like, okay, you know what? The only other thing I've ever been good at was chemistry in high school chemistry. Yeah. Very, very different in college, I guess. I don't know.
Oh my God. I cheated in high school chemistry.
I really enjoyed it, but I think it was because I had an enthusiastic teacher who got along with us very well.
Makes all the difference.
No, truly.
Really?
He was also one of those teachers that was like a safe haven for the nerds. And like, he was also one that was like doing community theater on the side. And we were like, wow.
Oh my gosh.
This was like my junior year too. I was like, wow, Mr. Slate is sick. Shout out to Mr. Slate. You know, I really wouldn't be here without you.
Yes. Love that.
But yeah, I tried it in college. It was the first class I've ever failed. And I was like, well, I failed my first class ever and lost my tuition scholarship, but I got cast in the musical.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah. And they were like,
hanging
okay,
out of your
fine.
ass now.
Yeah. You can study theater. And I was like, great. But yeah, it was all those gen eds really took a backseat after that point once I was like, oh, you know what? This has literally nothing to do with anything that I am studying. This is just going to be, I need to pass the class to get the credit that I need to graduate this university.
Right. C's get degrees.
Yes.
Like
that,
fully.
Could not preach that more, folks. C's
Yes.
get degrees, you know, prioritize what you're passionate about and what you need. That being said, make sure you're doing well in the classes that you do need and actually learning the content. But, you know, you're going to school to play pretend and sing and dance, and you need to be good at that. And
you got to be good at that.
That's what you got to learn to be good at.
You got to understand the craft of it and how it fits you.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. So you were a dancer primarily, or did you consider yourself a dancer primarily, or was that kind of something you were shoved into?
I feel like I was shoved into, like Philly made me think I was a dancer.
Gotcha.
Like the words that were uttered to me were like, not quotes specifically, but like, no one really wants to hear you talk on stage or sing for that matter. But you're a beautiful dancer.
Shit.
And yeah, I had a hard time. Like, I learned so much in Philly. I rep Philly. I love Philly, but also had a really, really hard time and was constantly frustrated there.
Yeah.
And it's a very small theater community, as they all are.
Totally.
So yeah, I feel like I was kind of thrust into that position. And I was like, well, if I'm going to dance, I'm going to go where there's a lot of dance. I'm going to go to the big city and dance. And I was going to chorus calls all the time. And I remember my first, like I went to an ECC for Chicago.
Wow.
To be in the ensemble of Chicago. And I made it to the final 2.
Whoa.
And it was like, this was like weeks and weeks that I was like, how am I still here?
Yeah.
Like, how am I still going? I just moved here. And then at the last minute, everything was going my way too. Even the guys, like, I was too young to be the understudy for Billy Flynn. So they brought in guys from Chicago to be the cover so that I could be just a regular ensemble.
Yeah.
And one of the guys even was like, oh, you're the new kid that they've been telling us about. And I was like, oh my God, like, Chicago, here I come.
You're like, wow, tell me more.
Yeah. And then at the last minute, they were like, he's distracting.
Interesting.
And I didn't get it.
Distracting.
And I was like, that was my shot at Broadway. Bawled my eyes out for weeks,
of course.
Months even. Thought I was going to move back to Philly. I was like, that was my shot. I didn't understand how it all worked.
Yeah.
So I was like, that was my one chance.
Yeah,
you don't get another chance at Broadway. So I told my parents, I'm like, I'm coming back home, you know. And luckily I stuck it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I came here being like, I'm a dancer. I went to a Hadestown ECC as well for the original company. Got cut immediately.
Okay.
Little did they know I would be coming back to play the lead role. You know? My little revenge.
Literally.
But you just never know how things are going to pan out.
Yeah, totally. When did that kind of shift for you? Was there a shift where you were like, okay, I am not only a dancer, or I am better at these other things, you know?
Yeah, it was
when you realized you were a triple threat.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, when I like believed in myself as a triple threat. I had booked the show Austin's Pride.
Okay.
Which was going to ACT of Connecticut and then hopefully Broadway after that. And it hasn't made it to Broadway, and I don't know what the journey is currently. But I booked Bingley, Charles Bingley, Mr. Darcy's friend, and it was a principal role, and no one knew me, and I was like, wow. And a lot of New York people were coming to see it. And then I got the offer for it at Fifth Avenue Theater, which is a big pre-Broadway theater as well. So I was like, oh, this is going well. And then, mind you, like during all of this, I was in callbacks heavily for Hamilton, for John Lawrence in Hamilton, and for the Stand By for Tony in West Side Story. Yeah. And like, I think Frozen as well, for like Kristoff and Frozen. Like,
sick.
Telsey was really championing. What the heck is that word?
Championing?
Championing. I just closed the show yesterday. I stayed up a little too late.
All good.
But yeah, they were really like on my side, and I really appreciated that. And I was about to go to Fifth Ave to do Austin's Pride, and then they were like, my agent called and they were like, "You're going to Broadway," and I was like, Hamilton, because in my mind, like that was the one that was the most likely.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "No, West Side Story." And I was like, "You're fucking joking. Like, there's no way I booked that."
Yeah.
The standby for Tony, which I didn't even understand, like, why they were having a black Tony. Like, I didn't get the production that much at that point. So that's when I was like, okay, like, I'm in callbacks for principals. I just played a principal in a pre-Broadway thing. Like, I think I might have what it takes, you know?
Heard.
So that's when it happened.
Look at you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was wild.
Is there something that you felt you were doing in particular that was like really getting the attention of folks? Or like, were you intentionally trying to network in specific ways or like be seen in specific ways?
Definitely. Like, I was intentional about just being seen in general.
Gotcha.
And making sure that when I come in the room, I'm doing good work.
Gotcha.
Because I feel like a lot of my friends at the time were like, the idea was, how do we get into these rooms?
Yeah.
How do we get seen for these people? And there wasn't enough emphasis on like, what is the work that we're doing once we get into the room?
Gotcha.
The one time that we get the chance to be in the room.
Understood.
So that they keep bringing us back for other projects.
Totally.
And like fighting for us to these creative teams being like, oh, actually, like this wasn't Jordan's best, but I just saw him last week for Anastasia or something, and he was belting his face off, you know, like, we know what he can do. So that was a big emphasis. Like, I would make sure that I was off book always, but always kept the papers in my hands.
Okay.
To be like, this isn't a final product.
Yes.
But I am extremely prepared.
Understood.
And I would come with choices and basically be like, this is my version of it. And then whatever you guys want to play around with, I'm game to play. But this is my interpretation first.
Totally.
And I feel like the people at Telsey at the time really took to that, which I'm so grateful for.
Yeah.
And then I started getting introduced to other casting agencies.
Yeah. Wow. Incredible. Truly incredible. I think right now, especially like we're really trying to focus on the networking and the community of it all, because it does end up really being about who you know in this industry and like, but like it's how do you get there? Like, how do you get into those spaces where you're all of a sudden like at a bar with other people meeting other people, you know? Like, how do you get to that point? So it's an interesting little conundrum that we have here.
Yeah.
You know?
And I will say, I also had the privilege of being new.
Yes.
Like, that was a huge privilege of like, of course, having talent and having work ethic and like showing up and doing good work, but also being like, who is this kid? We've never seen him before.
Yeah.
And we don't know what he can do. We don't know where to put him.
Totally.
Whereas now, they know me and they're like, we know what Jordan can do. We don't think he's right for this. We're not going to see him. And I'm like, you don't fucking know me. Like,
you don't know me.
You think you do because of like 2 roles that I've played.
Yeah.
Or, you know, so I do really miss the like anonymity amongst the community. I'm not saying like I'm known amongst the world, but like within the community, people like have an idea of
what. Oh my God, wait, the paparazzi are outside the window. Let me go shut the blinds.
Please, I just want to live a normal life. Please. No. But they, like, the community is like, oh, we know what Jordan does.
Yeah.
He plays his little guitar and, like, sings in his falsetto. And I'm like, excuse me, there's a little more.
You're like, I do that, and I do it really well, but among other things.
Yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah. Do you feel as though there is a type that you really vibe with or something that you know you do better than anyone else?
Yeah, totally. I mean, just like the unconventional leading man who's like softer.
Understood.
And is like not your man's man and is misunderstood, but
of course
finds his way through the love of his life, who is often the leading woman.
Of course.
So like Hadestown, Orpheus, Bad Cinderella, Sebastian.
Yeah.
Very much that. But honestly, Tony, like even in West Side, it was a very intense production.
Totally.
But they were very gung-ho on like Tony being this guy who left the streets and has a softer heart.
Totally.
So, yeah, I know I do that very well.
I got you. Yeah. Do you think Tony was like a good first foray into that? Like, were you feeling that immediately, or was it something that you kind of had to adjust the expectations of in your mind, because it is like an iconic role in that regard?
Tony, I feel like it just set me up to be like, oh, this kid he's well prepared and he's good at what he does and we can rely on him.
Yeah.
And then it was Hadestown that people were like, oh, like, because Tony, it's a classic role.
Of course.
And the way you sing it, there's not like a clear way to like put your own spin on how to sing that role. Whereas Orpheus, I really got to show a side of my voice that I've never shown before.
Yeah.
That most guys don't often get to sing.
For sure.
So when you're good at something like that isn't done often, then people are like, oh, that's what you do. So I feel like Hadestown was a big shift for me.
Gotcha. So did vocal training come most to you during your college time? Or like had you been singing up until then and then just being overlooked?
Yeah.
Because that's a big jump to go from dancer only, we don't want to hear you sing, to Tony on Broadway.
Oh my God. Yeah. No. And they're like, you're about to sing Maria on Broadway, the most famous song ever, alone, standing on this huge stage by yourself. I was shitting my pants.
Of course.
And actually did shit my pants in West Side Story once.
We'll save that for the bonus content.
But no, I kind of just like sung in my room as a kid secretly. And then I did the 8th grade talent show playing piano and singing. And that's the first time I sang in public.
Yeah.
And sang an AJ Raphael song, which he is the brother of Jasmine Raphael, who is in Anna Juliet. And I meeting him and meeting their family, because I had stalked their family on YouTube for years, which is like, I consider them my singing training.
Okay.
Like watching the Raphael family and Justine, watching them sing on YouTube, I would just like sing all of their songs. So then I got to college and started training.
Understood.
Like for real. And booked West Side and was like, how am I going to sing this crazy role?
Yeah.
Like that B flat and Maria. I would wake up every day and be like, that. Did you hear that?
That was so good.
Crazy.
That's Broadway, folks.
That's Broadway. So yeah, it was really daunting.
Heard.
But I'm so glad I was so young. I was like 22, 23, that I was just like, fuck it. Yeah, let's go. Even though I was scared. Yeah. And then it was like really like baptism by fire.
Gotcha. I love that. Wow. And then moving into the Orpheus vein of it all, like, I mean, that must have felt freeing, definitely, in some way, shape, or form.
Oh my God.
Was that your first time in an actor-musician role?
Yes.
Okay.
And of all the instruments that I played, guitar was not one of them.
Gotcha.
But Ahmad Simmons, who was in the original company of Hadestown, was in West Side Story with me.
Oh, okay.
And taught me the guitar parts for Orpheus.
Oh, nice.
I'd been vying for Orpheus for so long since I heard the concept album. And I'd stopped listening to the album because I was like, I have to play that role one day. Like no one's ever written a role where a guy gets to sing that way. And that's how I love to sing.
Totally.
So it was just like I was like burning bay leaves writing Orpheus on them, like witchy shit. Like,
were you actually?
1,000,000%.
Oh my God, I love that.
And anyone who knew me at that time, like that whole cast of West Side Story was like, all this kid wants to do is play Orpheus.
Yeah.
Like it was so clear throughout the whole building. And I was auditioning for the tour for Orpheus during West Side Story right before the shutdown.
Oh my God. Also, shout out, my buddy Miracle just made his Orpheus debut on the tour last night.
Oh my God.
Miracle, shout out to you. Congratulations, buddy.
Congrats.
So proud of you.
Yes. Hell yeah.
And you know what? I will say, the witchy shit does work.
It does.
I'm a believer now. Was it last year? Yeah. Last year, I was having this series of just like stupid bad luck. Like it was just bad luck. It wasn't like life circumstances so much. It was just like, someone spills a drink on me in a restaurant.
Right.
You know, I'm wearing a new shirt that I got. Someone spills a drink on me. I have a really great day. I lay down in bed, cockroach on the ceiling. I'm like, it was just like stupid shit like that for like a solid 2 months. And I got to the point where I was like, I went to Instagram and I was like, do I know any witchy people? What can I do? And I saged my apartment and Palo Santo'd my apartment.
Yep.
Immediately.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh God, okay.
Anytime you need a witchy person, you call me up.
Hell yeah. I love that. I'm really, I dig it. You know, I'm definitely not wicked into the world now, but like I started carrying around my crystals. I had to stop doing, like I would keep them both in pocket all day. And then I was like, I need to stop this because I know if I do this now, the one day I forget it, I am going to be a wreck.
Yeah, fucked.
A wreck.
Completely.
You know? So like I have some in my backpack and I'm like, that's good enough. Like,
it's true.
You know?
I have little charms that I keep. I mean, this necklace, which I actually stole from West Side Story. I stole a lot from that show.
And you know what? They know. They actually hired me to get you here.
That's why I got on the podcast.
The police are outside. We're going to finish the interview,
Wagner
though,
Johnson Productions is like waiting at the door. No, they know me. They're fine.
Iconic.
They stole from me, so I stole from them.
Ain't that the truth? They stole your energy and your time and your life. We love them.
I love them. They're cool people.
And you know what? Everyone steals something from a show.
Exactly.
It happens.
I just happen to steal like full outfits and jewelry. Like I have like 2 bomber jackets, shoes, jeans, because it was the pandemic and they were like, oh, go in the theater and get all your stuff.
Yeah.
So no one was regulating us. And this was a cast of 53 people.
Yeah.
And 45 of us were like 20 in our like early 20s. So they just let a bunch of kids go into the theater and get our shit. We all stole everything. But what were they going to do?
I mean, your germs were all over it.
Exactly.
You were just trying to be safe at that
our
point.
Sweat,
we didn't
our
know.
Blood.
We didn't know what was
tears.
what was happening with the pandemic.
Exactly.
Wow. You know what? That was really good of you, actually. It was really good of you.
Thank you. I'm protecting my community.
For sure. I will say I did used to work in the costume field. So I do.
Oh no!
But like for like regional theater, you know, like Broadway, they have the money or whatever.
Yeah,
but like,
fine.
There was one show. Oh my God, I'm not going to out anyone specifically, but we were doing a show set in the 70s, and I feel so bad, but our main designer was like. He was an older guy, so he brought in like a bunch of like his older jewelry, like from the 70s and stuff. And I was like, oh, I feel like this is going to be a bad idea.
Oh no.
But everyone was trying to steal those medallions left and right. And I was like, no. I was like running around backstage. History. I was like, this is personal property. God.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll sneak you the shoes in the back, whatever. Like we ordered those. You can have the platforms, but all this jewelry, y'all gotta leave it right now.
No, good that you protected this man's
I did my best. Some of it is out there in the ether, but you know.
Good thing I wasn't in that show. I've stolen from every single show I've been in.
And I get it. You know, I do. I'm also one to enjoy a little petty theft moment every once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
And
mine aren't petty, I have to say. Like Bad Cinderella, I have the entire opening costume of Prince Sebastian.
My God,
2 pairs of huge boots. Hadestown was chill. I just have the first flower that I
great.
used.
Yeah.
And maybe a bandana.
What are you going to use those costumes for?
Well, actually, on Halloween, I used my Bad Cinderella
There
costume.
You go. God. You really proved me wrong immediately.
Yeah, I'm like at a warehouse in Brooklyn in like thousands of dollars of a Bad Cinderella costume.
Wow. Iconic.
There's like a theater fan in the corner like, is that Prince Sebastian wearing his fucking costume?
They're like, wow, your costume is amazing.
Like,
you did such a good
thank
job.
You. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Eric Winterling Studios.
You're like, I worked so hard. I was at my sewing machine all day.
Right.
God.
I think some of them are like in the Museum of Broadway, so they saved some stuff.
Great.
I'm just outing myself on all of my...
Listen, From BA to Broadway does not promote stealing from your theatrical productions, but if it happens, we're not condemning it.
Also, I have an incredible jacket from A Beautiful Noise that I gave to my friend because she loved it so much. Mm-hmm. And she was a standby in Bad Cinderella and wore that jacket when she bowed, because our swings and standbys bowed with us on opening night. And I was like, Savvy, you can't wear that jacket from a show that's currently running on Broadway while taking a Broadway bow in this show. Mm-hmm. Someone's going to know.
You took it while you were still... because you had left to do Bad Cinderella.
Yeah, so the show was still running.
And then you went back.
And then I went back, and then they had to give me a new jacket. And they were like, where's your... And I was like, I have no clue.
What happened
There's like
to
TikToks of Savvy wearing it during Bad Cinderella. I'm like, yikes.
And were you with Beautiful Noise through closing?
No.
Okay.
No. So I like did the first 2 months on Broadway. I did the workshop, the out of town, 2 months on Broadway, left, came back after a year, did maybe 4 months.
Okay.
And then left again, and then it closed. But I was there on closing night.
I was going to say, they probably reused some of those costumes for the tour.
1,000,000%. And a lot of them are in my closet.
Okay.
But I gave a lot to that show, too.
Once again, yeah. You know what? Who's coming after you? No one.
I don't think so.
No, you're going to get blacklisted in the industry now.
Right. Is this
going to
the
be
end
like, we
for
heard
me?
on that podcast that he steals.
And I do. I dare you to... No, I'm kidding.
It's under the special skills.
Yeah.
You put it out there ahead of time.
I'm not stealing from my current show.
Amazing.
Because it's just so... It's such a heartfelt show. This one, I would feel bad.
And there's several other destinations for.
Yeah, we're still going.
We're going to check in. We're going to do a follow-up episode afterwards. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Tell me about this current show that you're doing, because I know you're very enthusiastic about it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so in love with it.
Yeah.
It's called Nightside Songs by the Lazor brothers, Patrick and Daniel Lazor, directed by Taby McGar. And we just did our Lincoln Center run, just closed that yesterday, which is why I sound like this. Because I just celebrated a bit.
Of course.
And went to sleep late. But we just finished Lincoln Center. Now we're about to go to Philadelphia Theater Company for about a month. And then we'll go to ART in Boston for a month. And then hopefully back to New York. I think that's the goal.
Yeah.
But it's about caretakers to those with terminal illness.
Oh, wow.
And those at the end of their life. And it's really intense and a really hard show to do. And a hard show to witness the audience go through.
Yeah.
But it's communal singing. So the audience is singing with us.
Oh, wow.
We're literally handing out lyric sheets at the beginning of the show. And it's almost like a secular mass.
Yeah.
I would say. It feels like a place to come commune with people and heal and grieve together. And I'm so glad it's not making people cry for the purpose of making people cry.
Yes.
People have luckily walked away with a sense of community and catharsis and healing together. Which, my best friend was there who lost his dad to pancreatic cancer.
Yes.
And watching my best friend experience the show while I'm doing it and watching him lose his shit, basically, along with many others, is so hard, but brought us so much closer.
Of course.
And, he made friends in the audience that have also gone through things like that.
Yeah.
So it's the first time that I feel, so connected and so attached to a piece and a theater experience. And I just have to say the Lazor brothers are geniuses, and I think the next big thing will really change how theater and musical theater happens in the city.
That's very specific subject matter that I think is really interesting, because it isn't something that everyone sees every day. And I don't know, a lot of my family is in the medical industry.
Right.
And here I am over here. But it's just one of those things where I'm wow, y'all are working in hospitals all day. The people that you see every day are frequently not there the following day. Ever, or any of that stuff. And that is just, I could never do it, because I don't do blood and any of that stuff. But that aspect of it would just, I don't know. I'm not built like that for sure. And it's just props to all those who are and can do that. But also what a brilliant way to bring people together and find that sense of community, because there are so many people that have to face that every day.
Oh my gosh.
I can only imagine how it weighs on everyone. So
yeah, we've had a lot of healthcare workers at the show and also in rehearsals helping us, being this wouldn't be realistic, this would.
Yeah.
And we're also gonna be, once we get to Philly, performing in some hospitals before we go to Philadelphia Theater Company.
Wow.
4 doctors in their conference spaces. And it's been really fascinating watching people in the healthcare industry witness the show and be really moved by the show or be really analytical of the show.
Yeah.
And also watching audience members try to control their emotion during the show.
Yeah.
Seeing some really lose their shit but still try and stifle it. And then seeing people just let it all out. Just truly wailing for those that they've lost or those that they know who are in this industry.
Yeah.
And I think the crux of the show are basically lead actress. It's an ensemble show. There's just 5 of us.
Totally.
But she says, so we're singing for the sick and we're singing for those who care for the sick.
Yeah.
And I think that is just so incredibly powerful. It's a love letter to those who care for the sick, which they never get enough.
Especially after what we all just experienced a couple of years ago. This world runs on them. And also our healthcare system is so fucked in this country. So it's all the odds are really stacked against them in this way, but they show up every day because it's what they love and they were meant to do. And whatever. It's just nursing homes too. When I would visit relatives in nursing homes and look around at the nurses, I'm y'all are spending every day with these people, and then frequently they are no longer there the next one. These people that you're investing your life into and taking care of. I'm who's taking care of you?
Yeah.
Who's taking care of you?
Yeah.
Because someone has to be. So
it's so true. We had a doctor give us feedback the other night because Taylor Trench, who, oh my God, he's brilliant. One of the best people in this industry. He plays a doctor in one of the scenes where he says, I've had to share this news 9 times to patients where he's giving the diagnosis.
Yeah.
And then we were like, oh, that's far too low. So then he was like, I've had to share this news 120 something times. And then the doctor came and he was like, I thought that the whole point was that doctor was a novice because he's only had to share this news 100 and something times.
Interesting.
And he was like, 500 minimum.
Heard.
As a newer doctor who is diagnosing people with cancer.
Yeah.
He was like, it would be in the thousands.
Totally.
And it shook us that you're getting 1 a day where you're diagnosing someone with cancer.
Totally.
And so as we're like researching this show and putting it all together and getting this feedback, it really weighs on you.
Totally.
And also like there's a whole section called bills in the show where we're tallying up how much this costs our lead character.
Yeah.
When she gets diagnosed and the insurance, and this was right after the whole Luigi thing happened. We came in to stage that part of the show and we all were like, holy fuck. There's a whole new weight to this.
Totally.
So yeah, overall the show is just really powerful and obviously topical.
Yeah.
But more than anything, I think it's been really healing to come together and sing with a group of people in a room and grieve and deal with our loss together.
Yeah. And that feels like the right kind of avenue to do it too. Like this feels like the right vehicle to kind of spread that lesson and like that kind of insight into this world. Cause like also like we live in a place that like kind of like fetishizes like emergency culture, you know, like we have Grey's Anatomy and Law and Order and we're tuning into all of this stuff because it's fictional television that we can go, this isn't real.
And turn it off.
And then we go about our day.
Yeah.
But it is real. And like those are obviously over dramatized versions of it, but it is what actual people are dealing with every day. So many actual people are dealing with every day.
Yes. I mean, we all are.
Yeah.
You know, like I lost a friend during this process, which has been so hard to perform.
For sure.
And we all are grieving many people in our lives, no matter when we lost them.
Yeah.
All goes to say, the show is also extremely funny.
Amazing.
Like we did our first night, we did a very serious version. The lights were down and then we were like, that cannot happen again.
Understood.
And then completely changed it and had moments of levity and allowed Taylor, who kind of acts as an MC in the show, to say whatever the hell he wants to say.
Amazing.
Which is such a wild line to walk, and he does it so brilliantly. And the house lights are up completely now. Like everyone is, it just feels like hanging out with your friends.
For sure.
And then obviously the serious moments hit, but yeah, I'm astounded by the comedic chops of this cast.
Heard.
Like Mary Testa, Brooke Ishibashi, Jonathan Revive, like, and then me as well. Like, I'm just like so thrilled to
You're
be
like,
around.
I'm so impressed by my comedic chops.
I'm like the student in this cast, like just like learning from all of these incredible titans. I'm like, thank you for letting me be in this room.
Yeah.
I'm just taking notes.
Is there anything that you've really taken away from like how to kind of lighten the mood in this regard, but also keep the potency? Like how to bring, because I mean, like comedy is a part of tragedy. Like nobody ever wants to sit in the trauma and the tragedy, and there's always going to be one person in the room that is there to lighten the mood in some way, shape, or form. So like, it's not like it's unrealistic, you know? Like I feel like a lot of times, like with really serious dramas and stuff, I'm like, they're not one person is laughing at any point in time, and that's just not realistic.
It's not.
Maybe that's just also me. Maybe that's also someone who makes comedy when he feels uncomfortable.
No, I'm with you completely, but I've never been in a tragic moment that comedy wasn't present as well.
Yeah.
Whereas like as you're sobbing, a family member, you know, says something that makes you laugh a little bit and maybe sob a little harder after you laugh.
Of course.
But you need that release.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that I've learned most from these like brilliant performers in this show is that there can be no ego involved.
Heard.
You can't be thinking about, am I good in this? Oh, did I say that line right? Or did I sound good? That ego really, you have to check that at the door.
Understood.
And remember that your job is to usher these people through an experience and to be with them and have the experience with them.
Yeah.
And it allows for a sense of freedom. Like Taylor, like his voice cracked the other day and he goes, ooh, I'm off to a good start. Here we go. Like just little things like that where I was like, oh, I would have gone to my dressing room and been like, fuck, you know, like
for sure.
And it just lightens the whole experience.
Yeah.
Which obviously in every show you can't do that. In most shows you can't do that.
Of course.
But there is a sense of freedom that I will take from this show that I've learned that I will take to other more traditional shows of, fuck it. We're all in a room together.
Yeah.
And we're clearly performing for you right now. And
totally
with you.
I feel like I am starting to see more of a push in mainstream theater of not necessarily like audience interaction, but like just involving them a little bit more. Because like theater, I think experiential theater has always been my favorite. And like the show that really drew me into theater was Hair. It was like one of those things.
My God.
Exactly. Where I'm like.
Very passionate about that show.
Exactly. So I'm like, that kind of is what theater is to me. And like, I'm starting to see that a lot more. And like, even with traditional shows and stuff too.
Yes.
I'm like, this is interesting. I saw Sunset Boulevard the other night with Mandy.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. Phenomenal. But like they do that whole street thing in the beginning of the second act where I'm like, this is absolutely bonkers. But like everyone is being brought into this in a way that nobody expected at the top of the show, you know?
Yes.
It was very interesting and kind of jarring in a really fun way in that regard. But like, I do feel like we are starting to make an effort to kind of include the audience in all of this, which is, I feel like, how it should be.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how theater started.
It
is.
I
think we should continue to uphold that.
Exactly.
That we are all, the magic of it is that we're all in a room together.
Totally.
So let's not pretend that one or the other isn't there.
Yeah, I feel like it is interesting because like a lot of people aren't like theater history buffs in that regard, but like that is how it all started. Like literally, like it was just an open forum with the Greeks and like
a bunch of gays in Greece,
literally
just putting on a show.
All of our neoclassical stuff, like everyone's shouting out. Like audiences are like completely verbal and whatnot, and like. Granted, I'm not saying we need that, but like it really, I don't know where
American audiences are already pretty verbal during a show. I was in Japan doing a show for a while and was shocked by the silence.
Oh my God!
But
what was that like? You were also you were doing Rent there, right?
Yeah, I was doing Rent.
That's also a wild show for silence.
Yes.
Okay.
And here's the thing: I played Angel in that production, and they're silent except for Angel.
Okay.
They will all clap on beat throughout the entirety of Today for You.
Of course.
All together as if it's rehearsed. I couldn't believe it. The first show, I was like, it like shook me.
Interesting.
And then before the show, complete silence. I was like, is anyone out there? Is anyone out there? Are we about to go to an empty house?
Yeah.
They were just waiting for the show to start.
Yeah.
And why would they talk? Like
it's wild.
And throughout the whole show, silence.
And like this is crazy, but like I can't remember the last time I was in the theater and didn't see a cell phone.
Oh my goodness. I wouldn't dare in Japan.
Incredible.
Also, like, if someone was late to the show, which was very rare, there's such an amount of respect in Japan, which is why I want to move there. Like, it changed me completely.
Wow.
I witnessed someone coming into the show late and folded their body in half while they walked down the aisle so that they would not disrupt anything.
Wow.
They were so close to the ground walking. And the ushers too.
Yeah.
They were taking them to their seats. I couldn't believe it. They were like basically duck walking to there.
That's crazy.
Because they were like, how dare I be late? And if I am late, how dare I ruin this for the audience members who were not late?
That's so refreshing.
Yes. The community-oriented culture there. Bravo.
Yeah.
And then I come back to America and they're like, this sucks. You know, like,
wow.
You know how they feel about it. People will yawn or like get on their phone if you're not captivating them.
No.
And walk in late, be like, oh, are these our, you know, like, we're right here. Like, just no care.
It's jarring. You know, I also, I do, one of my part-time like survival gigs is I do merch at some theaters sometimes. And like, I work at one of the merch booths that's like right outside the doors to the orchestra, and they do a seating hold at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
And everyone walks in late and they're fucking pissed that they can't go in. They are absolutely livid. They're like, you can watch it on the screen. They're like, we paid for the show, blah, blah, blah.
Hun, and like, you showed up late.
Why are you late?
Yeah.
Why are you late? You know, you did. You paid hundreds of dollars to come see this. You clearly don't care enough.
Right.
You know?
And this front of house staff has watched the show enough to understand what is a point in the show that will not distract you coming in, and they're going above and beyond to usher you into the show quietly. Like, the front of house staff has to deal with so much, specifically on Broadway.
I honestly, I could never. I could never
either.
I mean, I get treated certain ways just selling freaking t-shirts. Yeah. But like what those people do, I'm like, I really couldn't do it.
Yes. Front of house, merch, security.
Oh my God.
All go through hell on Broadway. And we just really have to show them way more respect than we ever do.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's so frustrating.
It's wild. It's like literally wild. I'm like, what kind of life are y'all living that you just feel like you could treat people this way?
Yeah, it really makes me baffled where I'm like, what are you doing? Where do you work and how do you show up to work?
Exactly.
If this is how you're showing up to a show.
And how would you react to someone that was treating you that way?
Yeah, if I came to
guarantee
your job.
you it wouldn't be the way they're handling it right now. Hell no.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
What I will say is I do love American audiences during the show when they are enjoying it and they want to let you know that they're enjoying it.
Yeah.
That is something that is really nice. And oftentimes, listeners, like, you'll get a better show.
Yeah.
If you're with us and
100%.
You're like, hell yeah, we love this.
Absolutely.
Because we're tired.
And you know what? You know who they start performing for once you react? You. They perform for you because they're vibing with you.
Yeah.
And it makes it new and different for them.
No, if there's literally like one person in the third row, like bopping, I'm like, this whole show is for her.
Literally.
And now I'm giving my all, even with a torn meniscus, for this lady, you know? Whereas before I'd be like,
your torn meniscus.
And it's torn, but I'm still performing.
Actively at this moment?
Yeah, my rotator cuff is torn, my meniscus is torn, my hamstring is pulled.
Your rotator cuff?
Yeah, in like 4 different spots.
Are you in so much pain right now?
Like, kind of, but like I can pull it out of place. And do you want to see?
No,
okay.
I don't. I don't want to see that.
But I'm not getting that surgery. I'm just going to be like one of those people that's like, I have a bad shoulder, but whatever. What's the choreo? Like,
wow. Why don't you want to get the surgery?
Because one, I feel like they're rushing everyone into surgery nowadays. It's like, no, that can't, seems to be a thing. Everyone's going into surgery, and I'm like, dude, do I need this surgery?
Okay.
And maybe I'm being crazy about this.
I mean, a rotator cuff's kind of serious. I'm not your doctor, but like,
right. I mean, it's torn, but it's not torn in half.
Okay.
It's just got some tears, you know. But like, okay, let's like talk about more minor injuries, like broken toes. That happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
You know, once you break a toe, it keeps breaking, especially as a dancer. So you're performing with broken toes often. I'm going to modify a little bit.
Yeah.
But if the audience is vibing, you guys, I'm taping this toe up and I'm doing everything I can for you.
Yeah.
Because I love, that's why we're doing it. Is this like exchange of energy. So if you give some as well, then I'm like, I'm going to give everything I have in the tank.
Yeah.
And then put on these compression pants afterwards and go to PT and put myself back together.
I'm going to sit down with my heating pad at the end of the night. It's going to be lit.
Yeah. And hope that these producers will pay me enough that I can keep doing this and put my body back together.
For sure.
Because we do love it. We're just not always treated the best to do it to our fullest extent.
Totally.
When people are like, you're not giving 100%, it's like, I'm not in a position where I can.
I don't even have 100% control over my body right now.
Right.
Yeah.
These producers do. and they're not giving me PT right now because there are only a few slots left. And I didn't get a slot this week.
Yeah.
You know? Sorry, I don't know how I got on that rant.
I don't know, but I love it.
But it's real.
Good insight,
so
for sure.
Please give us more PT.
Hell yeah. Like, come on.
Oh my God.
In any other profession, too. Like,
no, for real.
Everyone's getting benefits up the wazoo.
Up the wazoo. In Japan, I stub a toe. I'm in acupuncture. They're getting anything because they were like, we want you to perform. So we will do whatever you need to keep you on stage. And I was like,
like, is this a prank?
Yeah. And not in a workhorse way of like, we'll do whatever to keep your ass on stage. It's like, no, your job is to perform. Our job is to make sure you can perform.
Yeah.
And I was like, I guess that is your job. Tell America.
Wow. Really crazy. Really
crazy concept.
Yeah, no, so controversial to think of.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that like as our generation like starts to step into like the production roles, that maybe we will see a shift in that.
I really
hope. I know there's like a billion other factors to take into the mix, but I'm hoping that we can start to see like an emphasis on nurturing and taking care of people and like letting them also have a life outside of just this theater and this job, you know?
Totally.
And I feel like it's gonna happen.
I agree. I see little changes here and there. On Broadway specifically, I don't know if I've seen those changes, but in the industry in general, and you know, and Broadway famously will be the last to change. But if it's happening, then it will start to happen on every level.
Totally.
And I see it little by little, which I'm very grateful for.
Even just like seeing a friend step into a show to direct something regionally or whatnot, I'm like, I know those people are going to be so taken care of.
Yes.
And that certain things are going to be prioritized above all others, which is awesome, you know?
Definitely.
And like the people that's their first gig ever are going to have that standard from now on and kind of be able to hold people accountable.
Yeah. And be like, it shouldn't be like this. And it isn't like this everywhere. So.
Exactly.
Hell yeah.
You know what? Honestly, down with the patriarchy of
Hell
theater.
Yeah. Let's take over.
Yeah. We're going to do it.
I hope.
Wow. We've covered so much. We've really we've taken these people on a journey.
A lot of twists and turns through this.
Do you feel like you have any other wisdom that you want the people to hear? Anything for the young Jordans out there?
The young Jordans, yeah. I mean, just like, it sounds cliche, but stick to your guns. Like, if you're trying to be someone else as a performer, it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm still learning that.
Totally.
Because it's so easy to try and fit this other mold.
Yeah.
But other than that, just like learn the business side of things. The business of show. Show business. It's all business.
Yeah.
The performing is literally like 2% of it.
Mm-hmm.
The rest is business. You have to know how to get through it in every way. And it can't just be your team. It can't be your manager and agents that are the only ones who know the business side of it. You have to know.
100%.
And that's something I feel like I wasn't prepared for.
It's hard to prepare for that side of it, you know?
There's no way.
No.
Other than like trial by...
And listening to this podcast.
Yeah, and listening to this. But there were so many lessons that I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And like so many times I got screwed over.
Totally.
In the business. And so now I understand, like, all right, it's negotiation time for contracts.
Yeah.
And I'm like coming with a lot of ammo because of things that have happened to me.
I think negotiation in general is just such a foreign subject for like kind of everyone. Like, I feel like we are trained in life not to ask for more or what we want because we are under the impression that we will not get it. But like, everything in this world is negotiable. It really is.
Everything.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like I've had, like, to be completely candid, I've had really, really difficult times on every contract I've done negotiating. So when it comes time to negotiate on a show and like I'm sharing info with cast members, I've learned how many people have been like brainwashed into thinking like, accept the contract that you are given so that you don't rustle any feathers.
100%.
There was like a Broadway vet who I've learned so much from, and it was coming time to negotiate, and I was talking about what's going on, and he was like, well, I don't want to rustle those feathers.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to make this a bad experience. I'm in this show for at least a year.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, our experience on doing the show is not run by how we negotiate.
Yes.
You know, we can't expect like this to be a bad time because we really fought for what we needed.
Yes.
So that was a big eye-opening thing. I was like, oh, everyone, make sure you get what you need, at least what you need to do the show 8 times a week.
It's just like, I think people often associate like asking for more and negotiating with being disrespectful or unprofessional.
Right. Or like diva.
Which, first of all, unprofessional is subjective and stupid. There's no such thing as professionalism. Like, it is just a way for people to feel better than other people.
Fully agree.
You know, in terms of the disrespect, it doesn't have to be disrespectful. You can just be like, hey, this would help me. Is there any way we can work this out? You know?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, the answer is no. And then you can go from there. But like,
totally,
you might as well ask for it. I think like also just like the muggle jobs out there, like we see all our family working these jobs when we're raised, and like, you can't ask for a promotion. You can't do this or that. And I'm like, why? Why not?
No, for real.
Just do it. Push comes to shove. Once again, if they say no, you're just in the same place you are right now.
Exactly.
It's not like you're knocked down a peg. There is no world in which you have to be looked at different if you ask for something like this. So,
no, totally. Yeah. And I think the most power we have is to walk away from a contract.
Totally.
If you have the means to do that.
Yep.
Mind you, like, there is so much privilege in this industry.
100%.
Privilege of wealth to be able to pick and choose your project. Whereas, like, we're not always in that position where it's like, I just need this job so I can pay my rent.
Yeah.
But if you are in the position where you don't need that job, or you can take another job, and the negotiations don't go well, you can walk away.
Totally.
And the producers are like, all right, we'll find someone else. But also, that was someone that we wanted.
Yeah.
And they're like, people are standing up for themselves, and people have dignity. And going forward in their next negotiations, they're like, all right, well, there's a possibility someone's going to say no this time.
Yes.
So
The thing is, it's weird to like find comfort in it, but like you are so replaceable in this world, like
extremely.
in any regard, really.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing. Like it is a good thing. It can take so much pressure off of you and you're feeling stuck or the permanency of it all. So like sit in that. Feel comfort in that, you know, like you are not glued to anything in this world. You're not. You have the freedom to walk away, and like there are always consequences for every action. And if you are okay with that, if you are willing to face that, then that is okay.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Boom. There you go, folks. Get out there and ask for what you want.
Ask. You have to.
Literally. Go out there, take the world by storm. We are rooting for you. We are your biggest supporters, and you can be our biggest supporters by finding us on Patreon. Folks, that is patreon.com/beatoBroadway. Just a reminder, general disclaimer, we are not gatekeeping any vital information or lessons on there. That is just for fun, silly bonus content, looks into our lives and how the show is made. So come check us out over there. As always, you can find us on most social media platforms at BA2Broadway. Jordan, where can folks find you if you want to be found?
I'm really just on Instagram. Amazing. At Jordan Dobson _
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Like such a delightful conversation.
Literally such a fun way to kick off the day. And I really appreciate it. You're welcome back anytime.
Oh, I'll be here tomorrow.
Oh my God. Amazing.
I'm doing every episode.
I won't be, but if you're here, go for it. You can host.
Amazing.
And until next time, folks, bye. From BA to Broadway is created, produced, and edited by Brennan Stefanik, music by Dylan Kaufman, and cover art by Jordan Vongsithi.